Welcome inside the IKS Media Studios for another edition of SJHL Insider. It's our first episode of February. There's a lot going on right now, and it's coming down to the wire in terms of the home stretch on being underway. A lot of playoff picture discussion today. We have 5 games to review, 2 on Tuesday, 3 on Wednesday, so we'll get into that. We'll get you up to speed with the standings, the current stat leaders across the league, and we're going to be joined later on in the show by former Ronge Ice Wolves captain Parker Layton, who took part in the Viking Cup, of course, not that long ago, but also is with the Augustana Viking. So we'll have a good chat with that. Parker Layton, who is obviously a great alumni of our league, and a whole lot more. We're going to talk about the Coach of the Year debate. We're going to start that conversation up, so it's going to be really fun. But first, we got to thank our sponsors, and we'll start with Cantera Seeds, Capital Auto Mall, Canalta Hotels, SGEU, Sask Lotteries, UPL. Of course, UPL is the broadcast sponsor for all of our shows. Chevrolet, Great Western Brewing Company, SaskTel, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, and Vaderstad. And who is not a sponsor of our show? Tim Hortons, not a sponsor. Definitely not a sponsor, but we have a little fun thing that my co-host here, Jamie Neugebauer, brought in some lovely Tim Hortons for all of us here today. And with that, Jamie, you brought a little fun thing for us to just have fun with. What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, happy Olympics to all who celebrate.
Yep.
Obviously, the Canadian women were supposed to play today, but the Finns got some sort of stomach virus.
Yeah, the old stomach bug.
I guess that game has been postponed. But yeah, I brought in some of these cards, and Clark and I are going to open our packs and decide who our favorite player is from the pack. And
so we can go ahead and start that news.
Let's just
but
do it.
I'll have a fun little fact here. I have never purchased or received a Tim Hortons pack of cards before. Never once have I done it.
And now everybody gets to watch me try to open the pack of cards.
Figure out how to do this without wrecking the cards in case they're worth any money.
Okay, I got mine open.
Now, apparently there could be a gold prize card in one of these. So if that happens,
there you go.
That's exciting.
Well, there you go. You know what's funny? I got 2 Ontario boys.
Ooh, did I get a gold prize card?
Well, I think everybody gets a gold card of some sort here. But I got Olympian Macklin Celebrini.
Wow.
Which is a great card to get.
Good start.
Big fan. San Jose Sharks, of course, superstar. Dylan Strome, a good Toronto boy.
Yeah. Dylan Strome? That's cool.
Dylan Strome. And the pride and joy of Haliburton County, Matt Duchesne. And Matt Duchesne, it used to, here, how do I word this? Matt Duchesne dated my old university roommate's ex-girlfriend before they dated.
Obviously.
And they kind of knew each other.
Yeah.
But Matt Duchesne was kind of friends with a couple of friends of mine, and he's from a very nice part of Ontario called the Haliburton County. Lots of cottages and such.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Duchesne. There you
go.
So I got
Cool.
Strome, Celebrini, and Duchesne.
Okay.
I dropped my card.
I hate this first card. It's Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner.
Irony right there.
And this is from his showing off, I think, his World Juniors back in the day, if I'm not mistaken. But, Noogsy, Sidney Crosby scoring the golden goal.
Oh, that's a good card.
I feel like this is a really good
see if that's
card.
worth something.
Is this a golden prize card? Because this is a pretty cool card.
There
this
you
is
go.
Sidney Crosby scoring the golden goal.
You won this game for sure. No question.
And then I got Renata Fast, who's a defenseman for the women's team.
Good for you.
So pretty cool there.
There you go.
There you go. I feel like I should win something. I got the gold. I got the golden goal card.
Awesome.
So I'm trying to look at the thing.
That is a Hall of Fame card.
Am I eligible to win something else?
Well, you at least won the Hall of Fame gold card.
I guess.
Or whatever, the golden gold card.
I'll look into that later.
The prize was the card.
The prize was the card. The prize was the journey along the way.
The journey and yeah.
Well, cool. That was fun. Thanks, Nuggs. That was a fun little way to start off the show.
Yeah.
But we do have 5 games to get into and a whole lot more. So let's kick it off. It's time for the hat trick. I don't know if we have we don't have the back room camera set up, so I think the guys went a little bit easy on the fist pumping noise today. Look at that. Well, we don't have the song playing, so it's a little bit anticlimactic to just, maybe they're listening to it back there. I don't know. But let's do the Sask Lotteries look back as we dive into the results from Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll start with Tuesday, of course, on the Elk Ridge scorecard. Shout out to Elk Ridge. The Ronge Ice Wolves. This is a big result. Maybe on paper, when you see the 10th place team and the 12th place team, playing, it didn't jump off the page at people. But this win for Ronge was great for Ronge, good for them, but it was a big loss for Melfort. We'll talk about that and why. And then the Battlefords North Stars got back on track after a bit of a mini losing skid there. 3-2 win over the Humboldt Broncos. Big loss again for the Humboldt Broncos. They really needed that win. But Battleford's back on the winning train after snapping their 11-game point streak last week. And then the Nipawin Hawks, maybe the marquee matchup in the last couple of days, a 2-0 shutout win over Weyburn. And Nugsy, there is a greater than 0% chance that these two teams face off in round one of the playoffs. So that could be an exciting preview for what we could see in the playoffs. The Yorkton Terriers, a 3-1 win over Estevan, again, is a divisional game. This was a big win for Yorkton and a big loss for Estevan. We'll tell you about that in a minute. And then Kindersley, a much-needed win over the Warman Wolverines. They took care of business with a 5-1 win. Let's start back on Tuesday, Nugs. And let's start with the Ronge Melfort game because of the implications that this has for Melfort. Yeah. This is a big loss for them. And again, good for Ronge to get that win. Nice 4-3 win. But at the end of the day, I think the loss was bigger for Melfort. In front of Ronge's home crowd, always a nice thing to do. What did you take away from this game?
Yeah, it was a wild back and forth game. Yeah. Ronge came out to a 3-0 lead, and then within 10 minutes in the second period, Melfort had scored 3 times. Looked like everything was going fine for Melfort. And then what you're going to see when the third period rolls around is one of the harder shots that you will see all year in Dayton Tailfeathers. What a torpedo on the power play. And one of the issues that the Ronge Ice Wolves have really had all year was their power play. They're still at 7.9%, but you give Dayton Tailfeathers one shot. You know, a lot of the year, I feel like Kevin Kaminsky was trying to have Nikita Kulikov, who's obviously gone back to the BC Junior B League, be the guy on that half wall to pull the trigger. And Nikita can shoot it, but clearly Dayton Tailfeathers, as you see the Mustangs starting to rally here. But Tailfeathers has really found something lately. I talked about him getting that A on his chest, and that seems like it's really kind of brought something new to his game. And another thing about Dayton, he's not an 05, he's an 06.
Right.
So he can come back next year and be a big piece. But he's a guy that has 5 goals in his last 4 games, 8 points. If you include a couple games before that, he had 3 more points in the game against Kindersley. What Ronge really needed maybe was a focal point of their attack, and they were generating chances and working hard and finding a way to be engaged. They just couldn't get that one goal. They finally got that one goal in this one. We saw them play a game. What was it? They rallied late, I think. Was it against Humboldt? Maybe they played recently. Battlefords, maybe.
Right?
And they really
7-6.
Well, it was 7-6. Yeah, they've had some comebacks the last little while.
Yeah.
And teams have maybe stopped playing, and they haven't, which says a lot about the character. There you see the one-timer that I was talking about by Tailfeathers, which was an absolute torpedo. And then I think watching this game a bunch, I thought the Melfort Mustangs looked pretty deflated. After that, they put all that energy into rallying and. Usually the mentality of these Melfort Mustangs teams under Trevor Blevins have been so, airtight and locked in. But just for some reason, they couldn't rally again after, rallying from down 3. And they had a late 5-on-3 power play. Ronge did a nice job of that. It was interesting that Trevor Blevins was really turning to Zayden Saddlemeyer to take the big face-offs and not Tristan Ziola, which is something that we've seen a lot of the year, was Ziola taking those big face-offs. And then obviously Zayden is a good guy to have too, but it's interesting to see that decision. But for whatever reason, the Mustangs couldn't muster another rally in them, and it's great for the Ronge fans and those players. Most of them can come back. To feel what a win feels like, and it's great.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the Melfort's lost 2 in a row, and the hard part is they were 7 points out of a playoff spot coming into this game. They're still 7 points out, and getting that win in that one, they would have been 5. 5 just feels more achievable than 7 right now, with how many games are left and who they're chasing. But maybe next week, Nugs, we can dive into a strength of schedule or remaining schedule conversation.
Still 16 games left.
Still 16 for Melfort. They have the most games left outside of Ronge. And it's just it's a situation though where time is running out. Wins are at a premium, and games like this There aren't many teams below them in the standings, so to lose this one is a really tough one for what their end goal is, obviously, to making that last playoff spot. One thing I just want to note, Dayton Tailfeathers was part of the Mason Buchert blockbuster trade from last season.
Right.
And it's nice to see him, turning that corner a little bit, taking that big step. It's like I've said it time and time again, and I hope people don't get sick of me saying this, but the SJHL is a league of opportunity. Dayton Tailfeathers has been given a great opportunity right now in Ronge to kind of take the reins, and seems like he's doing really well at it. So congrats. Shout out to Dayton Tailfeathers. The other game that night, Battleford's a 3-2 win over Humboldt. Again, big win for Battleford's because they had lost 3 in a row. So for them, probably feels great. And of course, it was at home, so that's always good. But I think, again, kind of a bigger loss right now for Humboldt, who coming into this one was just 3 points out of a playoff spot. A win in this game would have put them just 1 point back, Neugs, and they are still 3 points back. Again, not something that they can't get. They can't jump over. That's only a 3-point deficit. It's not insurmountable, but a win would have really, really helped that cause. But overall, what did you take away from this game? Because a 3-2 game, good game.
Yeah, Caden Serpa continues to be awesome.
Yeah.
Humboldt put a lot of pucks on him. Like, this was a really good performance. I was watching this game, and I was like, which of these teams is the one in the playoffs? Especially the second half of this game. Pardon me, it was 3-0 Battleford's, with about 4 minutes left in the second period, and the North Stars, I think they put it in cruise control a little bit, which is no way to be. Caden Serpa continues to just be clutch. Talk about the Ronge Ice Wolves not quitting on games. The Humboldt Broncos don't quit on games either. And we knew that they wouldn't, playing for Braden Klamosko so often, we see that, teams want to run through the wall for him. Again, didn't quit going to the third period down 3-0. Tough times ahead and not a lot of offense lately, though I guess they did put up some goals against Warman, Humboldt lately. But, they found a way to get a couple in the third period. I think that's great for Humboldt's confidence. Obviously, you look at the way that the Battleford North Stars are playing just in the second half, really, and obviously it was an uphill climb. The top end talent on Battleford's is pretty clearly, I think, ahead just in terms of polish right now and experience than Humboldt. But the Broncos found a way to get one, and they got this beautiful one here off the side of the net there by Oliver Phillips, who's starting to score a few more goals too. And pardon me, this is going to be an interesting matchup. These two teams will do battle later in February too in the SJHL Game of the Month at the Elgar Peterson Arena. And that game could mean a lot for both teams as Humboldt's trying to get into that playoff picture. I know, Humboldt did unload. They unloaded Miller and they unloaded Streetsy and Tritt and Knutson and McElwain, and the list goes on. But, just to have any kind of playoff experience, we talk about that Weyburn team, how important it was a bunch of years ago when they were rebuilding to get into the playoffs, to start that rebuild the right way. I think it's the same thing right now for Humboldt. It's important for them to find a way. It's not going to be easy, but they're 3 points back of Melville right now for that last playoff spot. Again, not going to be easy, but there's still certainly enough there, I think, to make a real run for it.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, like an important thing to get into the playoffs for this young team. And it might be a really uphill battle if they do get in, because they probably end up playing Flin Flon if that's the case, unless they can figure out a way to get up higher. But you're still going to play either Battleford's, Weyburn, or Yorkton, or Nipawin. So, still not an easy task. But the experience of getting there for this basically mostly 18-year-old group, even if they end up losing the series, or if they end up winning, it's even better. But if they end up losing, it's still a great experience. It still helps you kind of take that next step as an organization with that group moving forward together.
And they're getting their chances.
Yeah.
They are getting their chances. I've said it many times that Battleford's will give you chances as well.
Yeah.
Humboldt did outshoot and outchance Battleford's in this game.
Okay.
Caden Serpa was phenomenal.
Yeah.
He stopped 38 of 40, 950 save percentage.
And I don't think I mind talking about this because nobody got hurt, thankfully. But there's a clip going around. I think the Humboldt Broncos posted it. Morgan Hackman in this game, big boy in his own right, hit Spencer Coventry, bigger boy in his own right. Alexander, sorry. Who am I thinking of? Spencer Coventry. I don't know. Alexander Coventry. Alejandro. But anyways, two big boys and smashed the glass with a huge hit.
Mm.
Coventry literally left the ice surface into the bleachers.
Somebody said hit of the year. I forget who.
Yeah, hit of the year. It was in our group chat. But yeah, anyways, everyone's okay. So that's why I'm glad I'm talking about it. I'm pretty sure Coventry's fine. Hackman's fine. Yep. Nobody in the stands got hurt with any of the glass or anything, thankfully. But a wild clip if you want to go see it. I think Humboldt posted it, so you can go check it out yourselves. So anyways, that was Tuesday. I'll move on to Wednesday. A couple more really important games. Let's start with Yorkton and Estevan. Bungie Division clash, of course. Yorkton with a 3-1 win. They stay hot. They've won 4 in a row now. Of course, they've won 8 of their last 10. So they've remained on a very, very hot streak. Estevan's about as opposite of that as you can get. They are 5 straight losses. And of course, all of those losses are either to Flin Flon or Yorkton. And they play Yorkton again. So it's a really tough 6-game stretch for them, for anybody. And of course, they're 3-7 in their last 10. So now they're even tied for 6th with Kindersley, who's in 7th right now. And Yorkton moves into a tie. Well, they're still in a tie, I guess, given Nipawin's result. But for 4th place, they're only 1 point back at 3rd place. Yorkton is surging. So what did we see from this game that stood out for you?
Yeah, I mean, Estevan's had a hard time winning all year on the road.
Yeah.
They've played the most home games, so that helps them in the standings. But they're 3 games under 500 away from home, but they are a bunch of games. They're 3 games above 500 in total. So it tells you how good they've been in affinity place. Certainly Yorkton was on top in this game for most of it. Obviously, Estevan scored a minute in. 101 technically, Rylan Williams scored, but Dylan Adams did face a lot of rubber, a lot of chances. He really did a wonderful job keeping this Bruins team in it. And by the way, the Bruins back end continues to get hit with injuries as well. Obviously with Shingus on a long-term injury. Now Breeze seems like he's hurt as well. So obviously Potter also injured. So the Bruins are kind of scraped together players right now. It's been tough. I saw, I think Aaron Miller's son was called up to play from Junior B. So Ryder, yeah, trying to figure that one out. So cool to see local boys get opportunities always. The Terriers continue to roll. They continue to win. They continue to play well at the same time. They've won 4 in a row. They deserve a lot of credit. Dylan Adams was the best Bruin on the ice. He faced 36 shots and was really good. And there were a couple other chances on top of that Yorkton could have made this scoreboard maybe a little bit worse even. The Terriers got to feel good. I think that battle, it's kind of, we're seeing the standings kind of break down a little bit into different pods now.
Yeah, we got
it's
some
not
pods.
kind
we got
of
some tiers
all together. Like Flin Flon is a bit ahead, and then that battle for 2nd to 5th is really tight, and then the battle from 6th to maybe 9th is really tight.
Yeah.
So we see these tiers now, and it's kind of interesting to talk about. But Yorkton again. Yorkton was a really good road team, and maybe not as great at home. They've really figured it out now at home too. So there's a lot of good teams playing really well right now, and obviously Yorkton is the 2nd hottest team maybe in the league after Flin Flon. So.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, definitely they are. And some small news that I don't think it's going to be permanent or very long term, but Nathan Gray has been called back up by the Swift Current Broncos, Yorkton Terriers defenseman. So with that in mind, again, I don't think it's going to be super long term, but good for him. Yeah. And he'll be back, I'm sure, at some point in the near future. Great. But he's been really good.
Yeah, he was great. 08, great pace with the puck, physical kid. And then 2 other Estevan Bruins news items. Rory Elsing, congratulations on your commitment.
Our latest commitment.
To Newman. Hopefully Seinfeld University, maybe Newman University, kind of a big fight. Hayden Pym, of course, who played for the Bruins last year, is there. So Rory and Hayden, obviously good buddies, clearly. And so Rory's going to go there. So congratulations to him.
Yep.
And then shout out to, and I'm sure he doesn't watch this, but that's fine. Shout out to Cade Runke, who obviously plays for the University of Regina now and was a Estevan Bruin with the Centennial Cup hosting team, championship team. Obviously, Moose Jaw Warrior when the Warriors and WHL played in that weird bubble at Brant Center. Cade Runke's fiance graduated from the depot at the RCMP depot in Regina. Cool. So congratulations to Cade Runke and his fiance on that life accomplishment.
Very cool.
So a couple big positive news items from Estevan.
Yeah, nice. Nugs, just a heads up here. We have 2 more games to talk about, which we're going to do. And then we're going to skip topic 2 and 3. We're going to bring in Parker Layton.
Okay.
And then we'll come back to topic 2 and 3 afterwards. But Nipawin and Weyburn, one of the marquee matchups of the week. So obviously, Weyburn's in 3rd right now. Nipawin's tied for 4th. So very good matchup. Possible playoff matchup. Nipawin comes out with a 2-0 shutout win. Yep. And I think the report we got was Gage Roberts. That's the report we got. Shout out Dylan Fiesel. I think he'll be okay with me saying that. Yeah. He's like, Gage Roberts.
Yeah. Well,
they got gauged.
We were kind of, because I had called the last 2 previous Weyburn games with Fiesel away with Big 6 games, and they won both of them. And then Fiesel shows up, and then they have a problem with their bus there with the weather. Not the problem with the bus, problem with the weather. There when they slid out into the middle of the field there near Milestone. And then another game here. And you know what, to be fair, the Weyburn Red Wings did play very, very well in this game. This game really could have gone either way. Weyburn outchanced and outshot Nipawin, which is a hard thing to do this year. This year, Nipawin's a very good home team. Whenever the Hawks are a good team, the Cage is a real fortress, and everybody who's been around the SJ for a long time knows that. About the Cage. But yeah, Gage continues to play well, but we've talked a lot about the Corshane line. We've talked a lot about the Ryland Williams line that's actually been broken up. Even before the Knutson hit on Rennie, they'd started to break it up. And obviously we've talked about Soupy Campbell and Josh Knidig in Battlefords and that combo. Not enough have we talked about Mason Karkachuk, Eric Hoynes, and Sean Shields and this line.
We don't have a choice anymore.
Well, no, yeah, they've been red hot. 14 points in the last 2 games for that line.
Yeah.
They had both of the goals in this game too for Nipawin, and just quick mitts, and just impressive chemistry. That line really fits very, very well. And obviously on a different week it could be a different line for Nipawin. Obviously the Jockums unit is certainly one. Connor Watson, certainly he keeps having a big year too. But you see the quick mitts there from Mason Karkachuk, and I mentioned it last show. This Nipawin Hawks team, when Karkachuk is right and in the lineup, it's a totally different beast. For sure. Because he can play all different ways. And, just that line kind of has everything. Tad Kozin has loved Sean Shields for a while, played him, in big roles over the last couple of years as a call-up. And, continue to see Eric Hoynes have a monster second half after a very quiet first half. And that's very good for the fantasy hockey people who have him. But big win. This was a playoff feel game. Yep. Again, Weyburn keeps playing in these sort of playoff feel games. I'm sure Cody Mapes would have preferred the win, but he knows continually that his team is showing up to play playoff style hockey. Again, they put up 40 shots on Gage in the Cage, and Nipawin only got 24. Yeah. So it wasn't a bad performance. It's just they got gauged.
Yeah, they got gauged.
Gauged in the Cage.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, this is I think the key takeaway for me coming out of this is Nipawin's been here and there, up and down throughout the season. Very good for most of the season, but we're trying to figure out, are they great defensively? Are they great offensively? Are they both? What are they? I think they're both. This game showed that. But like you said, I think the biggest takeaway for me is if it's not Karkachuk, Hoynes, and Shields, one night it's going to be Anderson, Tate, and Jockums. And one night it's going to be Radloff, Witter, and Lowther. And then one night, who am I forgetting? Brennan Olsen. Yeah. He's still a guy who has 22 points, and he's playing with Jack Jansen and Tiernan Ryan right now. It's just such a well-balanced, and we've been saying this all year about Nipawin. It's just a well-balanced lineup. And now with guys like Hoynes and Radloff kind of popping off a little bit like we hoped they would earlier in the season, they're hitting it off at the right time, and it's really causing issues for their opponents.
I would just like to see, the last thing I'll say about this is I'd like to see the Weyburn Red Wings power play be consistent, and they just haven't been the last little while. I know they've been playing great. I love those boys. They've been really impressed. But when you get into the playoffs, 5-on-5 chances are going to get tough. Power play chances in total are going to get tough to get as well. But when you get them, you think about the pieces they have, they should be good. Yeah. And it's just been a bit of a struggle lately, 0 for 5 again. Again, they're playing good teams that penalty kill very well. That's a big piece of it, too. Got to give the other team credit. But for sure. I'm sure Cody Mapes is trying to figure that out and work on it, too. Yeah, it's something definitely. Power plays are always such a enigma. It's like
It's either great or it's not, and if it's not great and it should be, it's really hard to figure out why. Let's move on.
And you give Rylan Pierce some more time.
Yeah, he'll figure it. He's obviously gonna. He's a big piece for that for sure. Let's move on to the final game there. Kindersley 5-1 win over Warman. This is a big win for Kindersley, as we mentioned. Why don't we bring up the standings really quick, because we'll tell you about why the league standings overall. This is why this win was so important for them. Like I mentioned, they were tied at the time with the Melville Millionaires for that 7th and 8th spot. Now they're tied with Estevan with the win over Warman. So again, we'll look at the other results and why they mattered so much. Battlefords has moved into second place, sole possession of second place with their win earlier in the week. Weyburn didn't get a win, so they're stuck now in third. Yorkton got a win. Nipawin got a win, so those two teams are remaining tied at 54 points. Estevan is now tied with Kindersley, like I mentioned, after the loss. Melville didn't play, so they're just kind of hoping for the best right now at this point. They'll play this weekend a couple times. We'll get into that later. And Humboldt didn't gain any ground. So when a team like Melville is stagnant and not playing, for a team like Humboldt to not gain any ground, that's unfortunate, that's tough. And then Melfort, like we mentioned, is now 7 points out of a playoff spot. They were 7 points, but they remain 7 points, which is a tough blow for them. So as you can see, like Nugsy said, we have the top team right now, 7-point cushion for Flin Flon. They got to feel good about that. Battlefords, Weyburn, Yorkton, Nipawin, they're kind of in a group right now where they're only 3 points apart. And then Estevan through Humboldt is kind of in a group where they're only 5 points apart. So the playoff picture is slowly kind of piecing itself together, but at the same time, with how close those groups of teams are, could change this weekend and probably will. So that's an interesting one. But what were your biggest takeaways from Kindersley Warman before we head to our guest here?
Couple goals for Bryson Akins. I think they brought him in from Melfort earlier this year to be a bigger factor offensively. And so I'm sure he feels good about that. He scored 2 goals by himself in 30 seconds. That's pretty impressive. And the one thing, again, I just talked about it with Weyburn, but going into the game of the month there in Yorkton, my big thing about Kindersley was that they needed to figure out their power play too.
Well, yeah,
because they were really struggling. They've been phenomenal on the power play lately. They really figured it out since that comeback against Yorkton the next night there in Yorkton. I think Kindersley's really found a groove now, which is huge. Their power play is up to 5th in the league. I always talk about good teams need to be 20-80 on the power play and penalty kill. Kindersley is now 20.2% power play, which is a big improvement from where they were. So I think they've worked hard at that, and they've shown that work coming through. And I think this Kindersley team, we were concerned that they would continue to drop off, but again, that positivity, that power of good leadership. Think about Van Egger, you think about Rusty Demo, think about Jacob Dennis. These guys have really taken this locker room and said, hey, this is not acceptable. Losing is not acceptable with the roster we have. They've kept it positive. My buddy Jaden Villafane, obviously Kyle Schneider's a real positive dude. It's a team that's been able to turn it around, and you can see why. Because obviously they're constructed well, and obviously Clayton Jardine does deserve credit for that. As you see Kenyon Unger's late goal. But the team that finally figured it out have come together here at the right moment. Matthias Radke, another good performance too. Tay Timmerman, by the way, made a number of unbelievable saves to keep this one from getting more out of hand for Warman. And obviously the Wolverines are really, ready for next year, it looks like. But, the Clippers continue to get better and at the right time too. And, it's not about what you do in January. It's not about what you do in December. It's what you do March and April. So the Clippers are peaking, starting to look to peak and really solidify themselves, with some teams around them. Obviously, Melville's been up and down. Estevan, struggling. I think Kindersley looks very, very good to make the playoffs right now. Yeah,
and definitely the trade deadline for them seems to have been positive with the addition of Bryson Carlisle and Owen Turner. I think just kind of added to that blue line, just strengthened it a little bit in places maybe they needed a little bit of help.
And 3 points for my buddy Rusty Demo.
Yeah.
Always good to see Rusty do well.
Chatted with him at the game of the month a couple weeks ago. Great kid.
Great kid.
Anyways, Nugsy, speaking of great kids, he's not a kid anymore. He's a young man. We'll bring on our guest now as we are joined by Ronge Ice Wolves, former Ronge Ice Wolves captain, now with the Augustana Vikings, Parker Layton. Parker, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Always a privilege talking to you guys.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we'll start with I know Nugsie's gonna talk to you about the Viking Cup.
The what?
So we'll start with how your season's going so far in the regular season with Augustana. How are things going there?
Yeah, it's going well. It's always a blast here. Our team got off to a slow start in the first half. I think we only had 3 or 4 wins, and things weren't looking good for us, and we weren't where we wanted to be. And we kept telling ourselves and telling everyone around campus, just hold on. We're a second half kind of team, and I think we've done a good job at proving that so far in the second half with only I think 2, maybe 3 losses so far. Lost 2-1 last night with over 100 shots total in the game, so that one kind of stung. But I think we're definitely rolling in the right direction, and we're going to be a dangerous team here with 3 games left.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, you and I did chat at the Viking Cup, and I appreciated you taking a moment there to do an interview with me. I just talk about I guess how the Viking Cup kind of spurred you. Obviously, special occasion in your home rink, a lot of hoopla, some good energy, and some good vibes and fans in the building. How much did that help you guys too?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I've been here 2 years, and guys who have been here longer than I have, 4th and 5th years, have been talking about it for a long time. And alumni come back, and there's a book about it that we all received in one of my first days here with the program, and just such a special opportunity for us to kind of showcase this league and our town and our team on just another level. The fans turnout was unbelievable. And yet, just a crazy opportunity, and you got to play good teams like the SJ. If we weren't winning, I was hoping they were winning, so it was pretty cool how that turned out. But yeah, just a great overall outcome for the town and for the game.
Yeah, obviously, I think you, me, and Ethan Andrews were all kind of joking about how Ethan was gonna maybe send you a couple beers before the game, so you guys would slow down just a little bit. But you guys played well and had a couple big moments in that tournament. So kudos for sure. I want to talk about obviously going back, it's been a bit maybe since SJHL fans have seen you, but since we've seen you in the SJHL, you've played pro hockey as well. So just talk about your experience in the FPHL there. How is it going, playing against, maybe 17-year-olds, and then all of a sudden now you're like lined up against like a 33-year-old father of 4, like from one day to the next. Kind of how was that transition for you?
Yeah, it definitely humbled me from going to having food on the table, everything ready for me to go living at home to, going to play against guys who do that for their kids. So, no, I can't complain. It was a great opportunity, a great experience. There was definitely some nerves going into making that decision, but, I talked to a lot of good people to point me in the right direction, and I wouldn't regret it at all. And, I learned a lot there. I was there for almost 3 months, got 8 games in, kind of hurt myself right before playoffs, but it was just, like I said, with Viking Cup, the fan and the atmosphere was crazy. You'd walk out after the games and there'd be lines of kids and adults waiting for autographs, and they really make you feel like a true pro. So definitely learned a lot on that aspect and how to be a pro and how to prepare yourself for the game, and what hockey could look like after university as well.
For sure. One other aspect of your career so far that not many people get to experience, but those who do, I've heard nothing but good things, is being coached by Kevin Killer Kaminski. So let's talk about your junior kind of journey with the Ronge Ice Wolves there with Kevin as your head coach. From what we've always been told and what we've heard and what we've seen is that it takes a certain type of person to play for Kevin Kaminski. What does that? When I say that, what does that mean for you? And can you just kind of describe your experience over those couple of years with the Ronge Ice Wolves?
Yeah, there's definitely no easy days with Killer. You kind of know what you're going to expect when it comes to practice and during games. But aside from that, Killer's one of the most welcoming and nicest people I've ever met in my life. In terms of a player, you need to be a tough nose, not afraid to get your hands dirty kind of player. He definitely instilled that into me, which has helped me a lot. I know there's been some guys that, don't see the game that way, and it hasn't really worked out for them in Ronge. But, if you stick it out and you trust the process, he's big on trusting the process, things should work out for you. And the benefits that I've had for playing underneath him and the tenacity that he expects out of his players has really helped me a lot. So I was very fortunate enough to be able to be there while he was still there.
So with that in mind, I guess let's just talk about the SJHL as a whole. It's obviously led you to a bit of a pro career. It's led you into some really cool opportunities with Augustana. What are your biggest takeaways when you think back to your junior hockey days? What are your biggest takeaways that you've been able to kind of transition now into what you're doing now?
Honestly, just hearing you guys talk earlier about the league, and I want to really miss it. But two, just how competitive it is. How many teams there are fighting for playoff spots, and how close they are in the standings and points. And it's just such a competitive league. Sometimes with conversations with guys, they say it's not the best league, but I completely disagree. It prepares you for the tough situations in whatever league that is you end up going to. You got to be able to take hits. You got to be able to make plays in tight areas. And I think the SJHL as a whole is the full package. You get speed, you get toughness, you get crisp plays, good turnouts, small towns, which I'm pretty used to. So no, I love the SJ, and like I said, it set me up really well for where I am now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks. Yeah, you were mentioning there that you're cheering for the SJ boys there at the Viking Cup. Was it pretty surreal for you to? I guess you play with and against SJ alumni. There's a ton of you, it seems like, in the ACAC. But what was the Viking Cup like on the ice like for you? A little surreal maybe to be then again facing junior players, or what?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much because I think I was -3 that game. But no, it was a lot of fun. The guys in the room. We have how many SJHL ex-SJHLers, so it was definitely one I had circled on my calendar to get excited for. It didn't help me when Ethan Andrew coming at me on the power play and threw it past me. But no, that was it was definitely surreal and a lot of fun to be seeing the gold and blue again.
Yeah, very cool. I just could talk to you all day. Thank you so much for your time. Parker, I recognize the workout room there that you got just beside your locker room there in Augustana. Two-part question here for you. Obviously, you're a La Ronge kid yourself, so I'm sure you grew up watching those great Ice Wolves teams in the 20 teens there, and how raucous it must have been back then. Just talk about maybe the honor that you thought about of wearing that La Ronge jersey and representing your hometown, and how cool that must have been. But then sort of a second part of that, obviously you go down there to Georgia for pro hockey, and I don't know how big of a town Columbus, Georgia is, but obviously you're not far from Edmonton. Camrose is maybe a bigger place. Maybe just a little bit of culture shock for you, going off to university, or not so much.
Yeah. To answer your first question, I think about it every day, about being on Ice Wolf. I remember shinny or pickup hockey with my buddies in La Ronge, and just standing on the blue line, pretending that, we were one of the La Ronge Ice Wolves, or even all the billets I had throughout my childhood. It was always a dream of mine to play for the Ice Wolves. The Ice Wolves, I tell everyone, were my NHL. They were my heroes. So to be able to put that logo on when I did, and for the time that I did, was nothing I take for granted. It was a true honor. And yeah, as for Georgia and coming here in Edmonton, it definitely makes you appreciate the small town of La Ronge. A 10-15 minute drive to get somewhere in the city isn't what I look forward to. It's a two-minute drive to the rink back in La Ronge. But no, it's just another part of evolving as a person, meeting new people, learning to adapt. And, I'm definitely a lot more comfortable in bigger cities now. I think Columbus had about almost 250,000 people. But, if you stick around the hockey area, we're all family, right? So it makes it a lot easier. You start to see some familiar faces, get to know some more people, and the hockey community is so strong, and they make you feel so welcome wherever you go. So it's definitely a privilege to play the game and have the people in Camrose that we have that support us and really support us, are the alumni as well.
Well, it's great to hear. Parker, what's coming up next for you guys at Augustana? What's coming up on the schedule?
So we had a weird one this week. Like I said, we had a game last night in Edmonton against Nate, and then we play them tomorrow here in Camrose. And then next weekend we play Concordia, a home and home against them. And then we have a bye weekend right before playoffs. So like I said earlier, we're trying to, we'd love to go 3-0 these next 3 games and set us up well for playoffs. So we're going to do everything we can with that at hand. But we're going to take every curveball thrown at us and learn to adapt and hopefully have a good outcome going into playoffs.
Perfect. Well, just know that all of us here are cheering you and the rest of the SJHL alumni on. So good luck the rest of the way, Parker. Maybe we'll chat with you again down the road.
Sounds good. Really appreciate it, guys.
There we go. Parker Layton, former captain, El Capitano of the Ronge Ice Wolves, now with Augustana. Super cool story there.
You just see like you talk about a kid that you talk to and you're like, that kid is like well raised, well spoken, from loves his town, grateful person, just the type of person you finish talking to. You're like, that was a terrific conversation. And I just love talking to kids like that, like Parker. And you can very, very clearly see why Kevin Kaminski looked at him and said, we're putting a C on your chest. Local boy, loves his town, loves the team.
And I always love hearing like they were my NHL. That kind of statement is always super cool to hear. And it's always fun to reminisce about those kind of things. I working in Estevan, there was a lot of local kids on the team when I was around. Lyndon Pastachek, for example, was one of them. And he kind of said similar things. It's like, man, when I was growing up, like the Bruins were the thing. And it's super cool for them to then progress into a spot. Chase McCursey is another one. Shout out to Chase. So there's a lot of local guys that grew up going to, or like being the stick boy for the Bruins, or any of these junior teams back in the day.
I think Austin Schaefer there was signed by the Clippers. I think he was a stick boy involved with the Clippers too. So there's that story. And obviously we had Mike Reagan on in person here last week, and just hearing him talking about what it means, the Bombers mean to him, and obviously we know what Bomber Nation means to the Flin Flon people. We don't need to go into that even. But it's just that's the thing about our league, is the passion for the teams versus, again, we're not trying to disparage any other leagues, but people in the Toronto area don't know that there's like 5 or 6 junior A teams in the Toronto area. Like other places in Canada, they just aren't as aware, aren't as passionate. And that's what makes our league so special. Yeah,
exactly. Speaking of our league, let's dive back into topic number 2, which, of course, we got to finish off the standings talk. So let's look at the divisional standings. We looked at the league standings earlier. Let's look at the divisions. Again, this doesn't necessarily have a ton to do with the playoff picture itself, but it's always fun to see who's where. We look at the Bungie division. Yorkton, they are inches away now from taking the lead in the Bungie division. And if they have anything to say about it this weekend, it could happen. Estevan has slid down a little bit there. Melville continues to kind of hold the fourth, I should say, in 4th place there. But they've been playing some good hockey. Again, this weekend could change a lot in that division. The UPL division, Flin Flon leads the way. Nipawin's right there. And then Melford's trying their best to get back into the picture. In the Nutrien division, Battleford's now has a 12-point cushion over the Kindersley Clippers. And the Humboldt Broncos, again, they're trying their best as well with that young roster to make a push. So we'll see what happens over the weekend. There's 12 games coming up. We'll get into that in a moment, Nugsy. But let's have a look at the scoring leaders now across the league. Hasn't changed much at the top in terms of the names. These 10 names have kind of been rotating around a little bit for the last few weeks here. But Ewan Rennie didn't play last game. Hopefully he's back before too long. If not this weekend, that'd be great. But he continues to lead the way. But again, not far behind him is Gabriel Corshane, Jai Zawatsky, William Leonard, Rylan Williams, of course, Ewan Rennie's teammate there in 5th. And there's a bit of a gap, and then it's the Joey Lees, the Josh Knittigs, the Anthony Campbells, Josh Sale, Kale Margolis.
Talk about Rennie. Hopefully Joey Lees is back soon, too.
Right. Another one, too. Got hurt last week, so fingers crossed there. You want to see those guys in the lineups, of course. But Nugsy, last show on Monday, I asked you, will we see Yorkton finish 1-2-3 in the scoring? Look at them. They're 2-3-4 right now. And with Ewan Rennie missing a game, it gave them a chance to kind of maybe gain a little bit more ground. So you and Rennie's itching to get back in the lineup, I'm sure, because he doesn't want to give up that lead, I would imagine. So anyways, there's a scoring leader. Let's have a look at the goaltenders as we look at the top save percentages across the league. Charlie Tritt continues to lead the way. Colton Scott has really jumped in there after qualifying not that long ago. He's really hopped up into the leaderboards for a lot of numbers. Especially after getting a couple of shutouts as of late. Gage Roberts down there in 7th. He just got his shutout, so that pushed him up a little bit, up the grouping a little bit there. Caden Serpa's been so good, a .917 save percentage for Battlefords, and you see Preston Patnod. I don't know if we're going to see Matthew Spencer Dahl because he just came too late for his qualifying numbers, so I'm not sure if we're going to see his numbers ever pop up in here, but he's had a great season as well. For Melville, and then you see guys like Nathan Cam, Nate Stevens, a couple youngsters near the bottom there, and Brett O'Halloran, the solid veteran. I'm assuming his numbers will pop back into the 9-10s plus in the near future. Just takes a good game, and that's all it's going to matter for him. He'll jump back into that conversation. We do have a fantasy league update. Now, last time we did a fantasy league update, I think it was like a month ago, I was like soaring away from the competition. Not so much anymore. So let's bring up the standings for the IKS SJHL Fantasy League. Team Nuke Stradamus is in a 3-way battle, let's say for third place right now, for the bronze medal, with the IKS Crew and Old Faithful. Now, as you can see with the Crew, because Jacob Streetsy and Oakley McElwain left, we've combined their points into one entity, and they've been replaced. But you probably won't see the replacements because of the math, and it's hard to explain. But the IKS Crew picked up Josh Sale. Is it Josh Sale? Yeah, Josh Sale and Tyler Palin to replace Streetsy and McElwain. Pretty good guys, but Josh Sale's points only count after a certain time of the schedule. So he's only got like 8 points right now, even though he has, what does he have, like 40 something? So it's hard to explain, but that's why you see a 64 besides Streetsy McElwain for them. Jacob Faith, a lot of Flin Flon bombers, and they've been picking it up lately. So he's actually climbed above you now, Nugsy.
Injuries
have riddled you. Yeah. Not helping at all. I'm at 341 right now. Of course, I have you and Rennie and Rylan Williams, Josh Knitting, and Anthony Campbell. Those are my 4 leaders right now. Callus Pierce, Ethan Andrews have been great for me. But Benny Walchuk has narrowed the gap.
Mr. What is it? 800 games?
Yeah, called? Mr. 800. He has narrowed the gap. I can't remember what the lead was a month ago, but I think it was like 40 plus points, and he has pushed it within 20. Obviously, big thanks to Eric Hoynes really taking off, but he's got Jai Zawatsky, Tommy Reese, Boston Harkness, Connor Miller, Gavin Granger. They've all been playing so solidly lately, so consistent, and Finley Radloff he's had as well, who's really also popped off offensively. So Benny Walchuk is not going away quietly. So I'm a little bit worried at the moment, to be honest.
Should be.
But there's the update. And one other update, just because I changed it today, just for your sake, Nugsy, just so you know, and for the guys in the back. Jacob Faith's team had Jeter Cordy on it, who's no longer playing. So I replaced him with Noah Asmundson. So Jacob has Noah Asmundson now. Again, the points will be only from today on. Sure. So just so everyone's aware, I feel like that was fair. So Noah Asmundson, welcome to the teams. Anyways, there's your Fantasy League update. Nugsy, we wanted to do for topic number 3 a little bit of a Coach of the Year debate. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Yeah, whatever you want. I think
you go ahead.
Well, I mean, it was brought up to me by somebody lately. Just who do you think the kind of the finalists even for Coach of the Year? And obviously, we have terrific coaching in our league, top to bottom. Like I'm not just saying that because I work for the league. Like honestly, there really isn't a hole of a coach in any team in our league. Like it's an awesome bunch, and that speaks to the parity. Why these kids are well coached and improving. Yes. But for me, it comes down to 3 guys, and 3, and then a 3B, and you can tell me if this is crazy. So here's my thesis statement. The 3 finalists to me right now are Connor Logan in Battlefords, Cody Mapes in Weyburn, and Emery Lawson in Yorkton.
Okay. Like those.
So, and then obviously Tad deserves credit. So a lot of credit. So the question is, based on where we sit right now, anyways. So do you agree that those are the 3 finalists right now? Do you think that maybe Tad gets in there, or how do you kind of see it?
See, the hard part for me is like, okay, yes, I think Tad deserves to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
Who am I taking out?
It's tricky.
And Mike Reagan, I think, is overlooked because we expect greatness.
Yeah.
So to
Well,
me,
he's done
it's
a great job. Yeah.
But like at the same time, when you think of, oh man, this could be a conversation here, folks. Just buckle up for a sec.
Yeah.
So when you think of Flin Flon, they lost a ton after last season, but they did bring back a good young group.
Yeah.
Did we expect them to be 7 points in first place at this point of the year? Early on, I don't know.
It's Flin Flon. I mean,
It's Flin Flon. So it's like, okay, are we discrediting Mike Reagan for some reason in this conversation because of that? Or should he also be in that conversation because of that?
Well, is it like,
Do you know what I mean?
Is it somebody else's turn kind of a thing?
Right.
If you
Is
know what
that
I mean?
how this works?
I don't know. We'll
I
find
mean,
out, I guess.
historically, kind of it is how it works. I mean,
Yeah.
Mike Reagan won last year. So, of course,
Yeah.
do we just continue to give the same guy the award?
I mean,
or do we switch it up? That's a question.
To have pulled off that move at the trade deadline, I know that's sort of
Right.
I think in our league we really do lump coaching and roster construction.
That's something
together.
also that needs to be discussed in this conversation.
You know, and Mike's had to do it this year, and
Yeah.
obviously I love Tyler Sturm. I think he's doing a wonderful job in what he's doing. But
Mm-hmm.
Mike did lose Cole McKegg
yeah,
to Brooks, and Mike would be the first to admit that Cole was pretty helpful to him.
Yeah.
as well. So. So he's had to kind of train Tyler on the go here.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly Mike deserves a lot of credit.
but
as
that
well.
is one thing that does need to be discussed is that this is not technically,
Yeah.
excuse me, sorry, the GM of the year. It's the
Right.
coach of the year.
Right.
So how much
is
do
what I
you
say
weigh
every
the GM of the year part of it? Because
Yeah.
I think they go hand in hand, in my opinion.
Especially in our league. Yeah.
Especially in our league. So, like, for example, just to add to this, if Kyle Schneider and Kindersley was considered, for example, he's not the GM. So does that demerit him?
Yeah.
It shouldn't, because it's coach of the year. But you know what I mean? So there's an aspect. There's that
Yeah.
aspect of it.
Well, maybe comment on the social media post for this.
Yeah.
Who you think it is?
So, like,
Maybe
for
it's-
example, Connor Logan in Battleford.
well, he's done a terrific job.
Not
Yeah.
not necessarily the GM though. So
He
it's
isn't
like
the GM.
So does that demerit him at all? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, is that part of
Yeah.
this conversation? I think it's Connor Logan for sure. I think he's, to me, as much of a lock at this moment as there can be. The rest, I think,
to be
are
a candidate.
to be a candidate. The rest, yeah, not as necessarily the winner, but to be a candidate. The rest, to me, there's 4 guys for 2 spots, and I just don't know.
I see.
And I hate to say just like the top 5 teams all, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. And the way I look at the argument I have for Tad is coming off of a couple seasons of missing the playoffs, the way that he's been able to keep the group together over the last couple of years to be in the position they're in right now.
Yeah.
That's why I would say Tad should be in
and
the
to
3.
get a team of a lot of offensive guys
Yeah.
to play the right way kind of from the beginning.
Right. So if you're talking about
Very
coach
very
of the
impressive.
year specifically, there's a good reason
There's
for it.
There's arguments there for it's going to be hard to. I'm glad that it's not up to Clark and I.
Yeah.
is my point.
Well, yeah. In terms of Cody Mapes in Weyburn,
Yeah.
the argument I would say for him is got to the finals last year, lost 7,543 goals from his roster. That's obviously a fake number, but
Yeah.
lost a lot of goals and now is right back into the top 3.
Yeah.
And in large part due to guys buying in and playing the way that Weyburn is playing this year. So I think there's that argument. For Emery, again, lost a good chunk of their blue line, but they brought back a good amount of guys, but did lose some forwards, et cetera. They had a loaded group last year of forwards. They lost a lot of guys.
Chauffeur, Denway, Coyle.
Right,
Sure.
exactly. So
Yeah.
being able to rebound from that, but also then find a way to build that roster and then be as hot as they've been. Emery, I think, deserves to be there.
Yeah.
And then who am I missing? That's it, I guess. Those are the 4. Mike Reagan, I guess, was the other name. So it's like, man, that's a tough call. So yours were Emery, Cody, and Connor Logan.
Yeah.
Emery Olafson, Cody Mapes, and Connor Logan.
But I love the job Tad's done for sure.
Obviously,
I love Mike.
I don't know
I think
who to-
Mike has had his turn. Is my point.
Sure. And he'd probably agree with you, honestly. He's so humble that he'd probably be like, I don't want it. But I don't know who you take out
Yeah.
to get Tad in there. But
It's a battle.
to me, Tad's got to be in there.
Well, so who
it's
do
either,
you take out? You have to.
Well, I already locked in Connor Logan.
So you have Logan, Tad, and Cody or Emery.
I think I got to go Emery.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Cody. And he's going to be like,
No, that's fine.
no.
He
But
gets
it's
it.
like, there's also 16 games left, so maybe
for me, and I'll just go out and say it. For
Yeah.
me, if I had to pick the coach of the year right now, if it was all up to me, which nothing ever is, which is fair enough, even though it should be. No, it is for me. It's Cody.
Yeah.
Is like
That's such
not,
a hard.
Not only not is he in the group. Of
Can we
three,
have
but
5 candidates?
yeah. Well, honestly, why not? Like, where does the rules say we have to have 3? But the way that the fact that the Weyburn Red Wings have learned a lot from that finals run,
Right.
and haven't let any kind of things dip, and they've
Darn
been
it.
so consistent
I was going to swear there, but I
all
didn't.
year. Like, just that consistency piece.
Yeah.
of
Well, you
what-
say Cody, I'll say Emery.
I
You
say
already
Cody.
said Emery, though. I guess I said Tad. So, anyways, it's a tough
It's
call.
a tough call. These guys have done a great job.
Yeah, and honestly, they all should win. How about that?
Yeah.
Now everyone likes me again.
Sure.
That's a great conversation, though. Maybe we'll have one more time before the actual awards
gotta,
come out. But you're right. Maybe it does. Maybe Mike's had his turn, and he doesn't need it.
I love
but
Mike,
I mean,
you know that. But.
Anyways, there's a good conversation to
Yeah.
have. Nugsy, let's have a look at the weekend schedule because we have 2 super days in a row, which means all 12 teams are playing 2 days in a row.
Awesome.
That's wild. The Ronge Ice Wolves will be in Nipawin for a UPL division clash. Friday night, Battlefords will be in Warman for a Nutrien division clash. Estevan will be in Yorkton for a Bungie division clash, and a really big one, given what we were talking about earlier. Weyburn's going to be in Flin Flon.
Ooh-wee.
Ooh, Weyburn's in Flin Flon. Yikes.
Ooh-wee.
Watch out for the moose leg.
It'll be
That's
fun.
a story that most people in Flin Flon will remember.
Oh, yeah.
Melville will be in Humboldt. Again, that one has maybe more playoff implication than any other matchup on Friday night, given Humboldt's chasing Melville. So it's a 4-point game. The rest, yes, there is stuff on the line, Weyburn and Flin Flon, for example, but not a ton of 4-point games specifically. That Melville-Humboldt one I would consider. And I guess in a sense, Kindersley and Melford is also in that realm of 4-point games. And on Saturday, 6 more games. Yorkton and Melville. Whew, that one's going to be fun. Get your tickets now. They won't be lasting very long. Warman will be in Battlefords. They flip venues. Weyburn stays in Flin Flon, of course. Usually if you go to Flin Flon, you're there for 2. So Weyburn gets 2 there. Estevan's going to be in Humboldt. That'll be a good one. Again, Humboldt's technically right now chasing Estevan for a playoff spot. So another possible 4-point game there. Nipawin's in La Ronge. They flip venues for home and home. And then Kindersley's taking on Melford. Again, another one where if Melford wants to get back into this, these are 2 really big games for them this weekend. Nugsy, of those 12, or maybe there's a couple, what stands out the most for you?
I mean, last Wednesday, I was so honored to call Flin Flon and Weyburn.
Yeah.
It was such a good game. I really enjoyed it. Like, that's the marquee matchup of the weekend.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
Like, there are good ones, obviously, up and down it. Can Estevan bounce back? Again, they're like the second Yorkton probably at this point.
Wow, yeah.
But, man, that'll be like
That's the marquee.
playoff feeling. It was playoff feeling in Weyburn. It'll be playoff feeling at the Whitney Forum.
Yeah, it's
How
going to
about
be
you?
a good time. Going to be a good time. So, again, 12 games, no excuses. The weather's good right now. Roads are okay. Hopefully it's not slippery with all the melting and refreezing and stuff like that. But generally, great opportunity to get out to the rinks if you're in the areas. Oh, yeah.
I want to shout out before we forget, before we say goodbye. Got a shout out, and it's on. Like I put a bunch of stuff on social media and on the website. But shout out to Sienna Murray, Alex Clark,
yes,
Michelle
the
McKenna, and of
referees.
course alumni Tarrington Wyanzik, who will be officiating at the 2026 Olympics there in Italy. That's started already. Pardon me, Sienna Murray was refereeing the Czechia USA game this morning
women's
already.
game, yeah.
And so those 3 women we're all very, very proud of. Obviously, Our boy Jeremy Corrigan out there doing content. Our boy Bryce Aschenbrunner, who directs and does a bunch of stuff. He's a genius around here doing curling, shooting. The list goes on. But shout out to the officials and just check out SJHL socials. Paul Raycroft, our director of player safety. He got a long title. I can never remember it. Had some quotes about each of them. So check that out.
Very cool stuff. And like I said, a lot of hockey to enjoy. The Olympics are happening.
Yeah.
So lots.
What's your favorite event other than hockey, Clark, at the Olympics?
I think the snowboarding is probably up there for me in the Winter Olympics. I really like speed skating as well.
Short or
it's
long?
just both are wild to me. If short had any contact at all, it'd be like roller
Olympic
derby,
crashed ice.
and it would be amazing. But I do like the short because I feel like a lot can happen in, pardon the pun, in a short period of time, and chaos. Yeah. So I love the speed skating. So those would probably be my two that I always kind of try to keep an eye on if I can. Snowboarding and speed skating, but obviously hockey. So it's going to be a real lot of fun. Follow us on all of our social media channels. We'll have you covered for anything SJHL. And there's a lot going on. So get out to the rinks, enjoy the hockey, everyone. We'll see you back here on Monday for another edition of SJHL Weekly. Bye for now.